Prime-time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
And now it's time to take a look at some local stories now. An update is coming to the city's violence harassment prevention policy. It was last updated in June of 2020. The policy is designed to provide support and maintain the confidentiality of employees impacted by violence or harassment. Now, recently this policy was brought to council to update certain areas.
Certainly, I think that the updates, there was a number of updates made. Again, sometimes it's clear and wording. In this case, it was also to do with the OHS, both Saskatchewan and Alberta. And the uniqueness of our city is they both apply.
Specific updates came in the form of tweaking definitions such as the word harassment, as well as including members of council and contractors into the policy.
The administration, again, through the health and safety team, brought this forward and appreciate making sure that our policies are up to date and current, because we have to protect our employees, but we also have to answer to the department respectively to ensure that those acts are being followed.
And now it's time for us to take a look back in time in this week's edition of Retrospect. We start Retrospect this week in 1994, with Alberta gun owners continuing their fight against federal gun laws.
United we will stand.
On Monday, May 26, 2,500 gun owners and supporters gathered in Wainwright to rally against Ottawa's tough gun legislation. The event spawned the birth of the Responsible Firearms Owners of Alberta, and their protest drew media attention from across the continent. But the one person they were hoping to reach didn't respond as they'd planned. Instead, Justice Minister Alan Rock talked about a total ban on handguns and a national firearms registry. So now the group is taking another shot at the federal gun legislation by holding 4 more rallies in August.
When these rallies are done, the government's going to realize that there is a force that has to be reckoned with.
With one successful rally under his gun belt, Merv Bruno is aiming for more of the same at rallies in Lethbridge, Olds, Edmonton, and St. Paul. To stay on target, the Responsible Firearms Group is trying to dispel its redneck image to appeal to more politicians in Ottawa. But some members believe it will be hard selling the responsible gun owners' image to a government they say doesn't understand the issue.
You take the guys that killed that girl down in Toronto in the restaurant. They shot her with a sawed-off shotgun. You think that they went down and registered their fire? This is crazy.
Organizers of the upcoming St. Paul rally are hoping the event will trigger a response from local gun owners.
Government, they'll just shove that down your throat and we take it and keep taking it. This way here, it'll give the people of St. Paul an opportunity to voice their opinion, to show the government that we're not going to stand for it anymore.
The St. Paul rally is set for August 21st. The RFOA is hoping pro-gun supporters will attend all 4 rallies to show Alan Rock Albertans will not be shot down by Ottawa's gun legislation.
And in 1998, area residents start raising large birds.
When you think of birds, you may not think of them being this big. It takes a lot to even raise these ostriches to this size. Temperatures have to be just right, and a lot of TLC is involved.
They're really hard to raise, actually, and a lot of people have had trouble with them, and sometimes they have a total wipeout. But we've been fortunate so far. We've got 13 hatched and 13 alive, and we'll see what happens.
Even though ostriches originate from Africa, they don't seem to need the excessive heat that goes along with it. As long as temperatures are comfortable, Canada's climate suits them just fine.
I have seen ostrich adults living in a farm where they just had a fence and a building with not even a door on it, where they could get a little bit of shelter, and they survived winter down by Calgary. Now, we didn't feel like we wanted to take that chance, so we've got sheds that have doors, and we actually lock them in at night if it's really cold. a good part of the winter they're closed at night and open in the day, and then we have a little bit of heat. We put a furnace in, and just a very minimal amount of heat to make it, just take the edge off the heat.
Ostriches are an industry that was huge, then let off a little, and now a surge upwards could be in the future.
The prices were around $50,000 a pair a few years back, and they've dropped drastically. And I haven't bought any lately, so I'm thinking around $10,000 or $15,000 a pair, but I'm not even sure if they're that high at the moment. The bottom fell out of the market, but now it's starting to come back, and we feel optimistic that it's going to be okay. We were talking to the Alberta Ostrich Association recently, and they said the prices they believe are going to go up, and they won't go back to what they were. But we're hoping that we can get as much as $500 or $600 for a year-old chick next summer.
In the 1 year the Chicago's have been raising these birds, everything has gone as planned. If the markets cooperate, this area of diversified farming will continue well into the future.
It's a good business. We have had our ups and downs, but we feel that it's coming back, and we're quite optimistic about the future. And we hope to have about 50 little chicks that'll be about 6 feet tall or something like that by next summer to sell.
And this has been our week in retrospect.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
The Vermilion Fair is only a few days away, and our Thomas Wildman has more on some of the agricultural events that will be taking place during this year's fair.
Today, I'm joined by the Vermilion Ag Society President, Justin Clark, who's here today to talk to me about a few of the ag events that will be taking place at the Vermilion Fair this year. And so thank you so much for being with me today, Justin.
Happy to be here. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in the next couple of days.
All right, Justin, so let's start with horses. You guys will be having normal equine as well as heavy horse events. Talk to me a little bit about a few of those events that will be taking place throughout the fair.
The horse events will have a whole variety of things. And as I've mentioned with other organizations and such, we try to keep things a little bit being able to be fluid. So we like to kind of make sure that, yes, we have things scheduled, and absolutely take a look at our website. As things evolve, they'll be in there. But for some highlights for the light horse show, I think they're doing a dressage show this year in front of the grandstand. Our heavy horse show, we're always super excited to see those big animals trotting around the grounds. A lot of those guys actually will come from Calgary and area soon after the Stampede, and we're very privileged to have them here. So for the most part, that stuff is all scheduled as it has historically been, but we'd like to make sure people are directed to our website, because sometimes we need to make little pivots, and so that's where we post our updates.
All right, Justin, tell me a little bit about the cattle shows that we are going to be having at the Vermilion Fair, as there is quite a large amount of cattle producers here in the Lakeland area.
Our beef show is it's always really cool. Again, our website will kind of have any updates as far as those things go, but we're really excited to be hosting those. We've gotten some big donations to kind of come through in a new way with some of those shows. So big shout out for the people who have worked so hard and who have given to make this show work this year. There'll be some small subtle changes with it. To the average eye, you might not catch it, but there's been some big motions, big gestures from some individuals on that. So we really do appreciate it.
And then the last livestock events will be the sheep shows. So tell me a little bit about those.
So the sheep, there's a good chance you might see me or my kids running around in that. It's my youngest, or I guess my oldest son's favorite show. And it's just such a staple of our society, that sheep show. The barns are open, not just for the sheep. I'll emphasize that. All the barns are open for the general public to go through, and we highly encourage it. There's often demos going on. There's often all sorts of headings. You can do all of those things. And so with all three of those that we've just chatted about in all of our barns, we welcome the general public to please go through. There's a lot of people that put hours and hours and hours in the effort, probably hundreds of hours, into showing those animals. And so catching just the pure show is just part of what we offer here on the grounds.
And finally, Justin, tell me a little bit about the importance of volunteers and the work that goes into making this show possible, as well as a little bit of the work that goes into afterwards and how important that is for you and the Egg Society.
I do want to just do a big shout out. We had our work bee this past Saturday. We had over 150 people show up to the grounds and put a full day's solid work into our grounds. So I want to do a huge shout out to that crew, as well as just maybe a little bit of heads up for anybody who's willing. On Sunday the 30th, so after the fair is all wound up, we always have our cleanup, and that's when our unsung heroes show up. So if there's anybody who's willing to throw a little bit of extra labor into helping put the grounds away in a nice sort of fashion so we can be ready now for next year, we're always looking for those individuals as well.
Thank you so much for all the information, Justin, and be sure to check out the Vermilion Fair. There's going to be all sorts of different events outside of the Ag events that will be happening from July 27th to July 29th.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
And now it's time for us to check in once again with Abby St. John for another look at your evening weather forecast.
Thanks so much, Jace. Taking a look at current temperatures, it is 29 here in the border city. We saw a very hot day out, very humid as well. If anybody was up at around 7 a.m. this morning, you would have caught the short thunderstorm that we had, which woke me up. But I love a good thunderstorm, so I was okay with it. But it definitely did get really humid and hot today, which was always nice. But definitely make sure if you're outside, drink lots of water, wear a hat and sunscreen and all that fun stuff. And across Alberta, it is also hot in parts of the region as well. 26 in Edmonton, 25 up in Athabasca, 23 in Whitecourt, 22 in Edson, 27 in Rocky Mountain House and Jasper, and 28 in Red Deer. And then on the Saskatchewan side, a lot of Saskatchewan is under an extreme heat warning. So definitely keep that in mind when you are going outside. It is going to be extremely hot. 33 out in Saskatoon, 32 in North Battleford, 25 in Meadow Lake, 25 also in Prince Albert and in Melfort. So it's fairly warm in Saskatchewan. And then if we go more up north, 26 in Uranium City, 26 also in Stony Rapids, 29 in La Loche and Buffalo Narrows, 25 in Wollaston Lake, 27 in South End and in Flin Flon. And then on the Alberta side, 28 in Fort Chipewyan, 29 in Fort Mac, 22 in High Level, 21 in Peace River, 19 in Grand Prairie, and 27 in Slave Lake. So some of those temperatures are matching our own with a little bit of fluctuation here and there. And then if we go down more south, it is extremely warm in southern Alberta. 34 in Calgary and in Coronation, 35 in Lethbridge, 37 in Medicine Hat, and 30 out in Banff. So that Medicine Hat is looking very hot. And the same thing on the Saskatchewan side, 35 in Kindersley, also out in Estevan at that 35, 37 in Swift Current and in Moose Jaw, 33 in Regina, and 29 in Yorkton. So definitely make sure if you're going outside to take those preventative measures against the heat and the sun. Overnight tonight in North Battleford, it will cool down just to 15 degrees, be a little bit breezy in the evening, but otherwise it will be very clear and nice out for a nice evening. And then tonight in Cold Lake, predicted to strong thunder showers in the evening tonight in Cold Lake. 17 degrees will be your low for the evening, and those thunder showers should happen later on in the evening. And then overnight across the region, 17 degrees in Meadow Lake, Bonnyville, and in Isla Crosse. 16 in Provost and in Paradise Hill. Paradise Hill is looking fairly clear and mild tonight. A little bit of cloud coverage in Meadow Lake. And then in Bonnyville and Isla Crosse, expect some thunderstorms or late showers overnight tonight in those areas. And then more regional temperatures overnight. Wainwright, Calgary, and Mirnam sitting at 15 degrees, 17 in Pearceland, and 16 in Unity. Mostly cloudy, clear skies in most of the region except for Mirnam and Pearceland. Expect some thunder showers overnight tonight in those two areas. And then here in Lloydminster, it will be clear at 16 16 degrees. And then over the next 7 days, a high of 26 and a low of 11 for tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud, a little bit of a breeze as well. Then on Wednesday, those clouds kind of pick up a little bit in the afternoon with a high of 22 and a low of 10. We cool things off on Thursday with a high of 18 and a low of 8. A brief morning shower or two, about a 70% chance we'll see some precipitation. And then on Friday, it'll be 19 degrees with a low of 8 and a 67% chance of some morning showers as well. And then on Saturday for your weekend, a mix of sun and cloud, but mostly sunny throughout the day with a high of 21 and a low of 11. So not too hot, which is always nice to see. And then on Sunday, a 58% chance of a thunderstorm throughout the day, but it will be a mostly sunny day with a high of 22 and a low of 11. And then back on Monday, that sun will be shining with a high of 23 and a low of 12. That is a look at your evening weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
We have a special guest today on Primetime Local News. Lana Tordoff is here. Lana is the Executive Director of the Parkinson Association of Alberta. Lana, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Stacey.
Well, we have a lot of exciting events coming up in Lloydminster, and one of those is in September, Lana, and it is the Step and Stride, the 11th annual this year. Can you tell me about how it's going to be happening here in Lloydminster, what people can expect if they take part?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got such a great group of people who are so committed to our organization in Lloydminster, and it's a really fun day happening at Bud Miller Park on the 9th of September. Food, fun, lots of entertainment, prizes, great camaraderie. And, you know, the spirit of the walk itself is really one of making sure that people are comfortable and feeling good and engaged and strong with the community of their peers.
Now, when we say Lloydminster, we actually kind of mean the Lloydminster region. Is that correct? That people from other parts of the area can also take part?
Yeah, absolutely. If you can drive there, you're more than welcome. You know, lots of people say to us, well, I don't have time to fundraise this year, or I don't know what, you know, how much I can fundraise, but come anyway, because it's really about that social engagement, getting people out. It's so important for people who are living with Parkinson's to get themselves out and involved in the community.
Now, the event is at Bud Miller Park here in Lloydminster. Do you have to, when you sign up, do you have to run a certain amount of distance or a certain distance or walk a certain distance, or how does it work?
Yeah, you know, we're set up for 1, 3, or 5 kilometers, but you can walk or roll or run or, you know, or sit and cheer on the people who are doing so, whatever you're comfortable with and whatever your capabilities are. And we'll help you. We'll come get you with a golf cart, possibly, if you make it halfway and then can't get back. That's okay too.
Do you set a financial goal for this event, or do you just hope for the best and everything that you raise, every dollar is good?
You know, we do set a goal in Lloydminster specifically. It's $14,000 this year. As an organization and province-wide, we are hoping to achieve about $400,000 this year, which is a good chunk of change, and really helps support the ongoing ability for our organization to meet the needs of people living in communities like Lloydminster and really across the province. You know, the fundraising environment is a little bit challenging, and the economy is certainly a challenge at the moment. And so every dollar really matters to us, and we do our best to stretch it as far as it will go.
So the money that is raised through the Lloydminster Walk, how is that used?
It is used to bring educational opportunities, emotional and practical support, programming where we have the possibility to do so. In Lloydminster, I know we've got a number of folks who participate in our virtual programming that's run out of the Edmonton office. So it allows us to make sure that people have access to the support they need. Really, if it's, you know, they receive a diagnosis and they pick up the phone because they don't know who else to turn to, that's what we're here for. We're here to answer the questions and to talk things through, help people understand what it is that they have to look forward to with their journey, and some of those challenges and how we can be helpful.
So how do people sign up for this event, Lana? How can they go about registering?
It's as easy as going to the parkinsonassociation.ca website. You'll click on the big banner that says Step and Stride Walk for Parkinson's, and it takes you through a little process from there. But it's really just picking your location or finding a team or creating a team. And if the technology is a little bit overwhelming, our folks are available by phone and they can help walk you through it as well.
And I guess one thing we should mention is this isn't an event that is just happening in Lloydminster. It's happening on different days at different places across the province. So if you're not in Lloydminster, you can still sign up for a different community.
That's right. So there are 9 locations over the Saturday and Sunday of that weekend. Plus, if you're in a seniors community, or if you are in a community where we don't have a walk and you don't want to travel, you can do it yourself. There's a do-it-yourself walk as well, and so you just download that, and you've got all the posters and the forms and all of the fun things that help you do that on your own. So it doesn't really matter where you are; you can participate.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for joining me today. And just one more time, please, if anybody's looking for information on joining the walk or just some information on the association as well, where's the best place to find that?
Really on the website, parkinsonassociation.ca. And if you just find the website and then the phone numbers there, you can give us a call too.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Lana, and good luck with the events.
Thanks so much, Stacy. Take care.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery, downtown Lloydminster.
I'm happy to be joined here today by Michaela Solomon with SGI. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, we received a release from SGI not too long ago about the number of tickets handed out in the month of June in Saskatchewan. And looking at the numbers, it's quite lengthy. Over 1,000 distracted driving tickets, over 700 seatbelt tickets, and then 410 impaired driving offenses. Run down those numbers with me real quick and tell me what you guys have seen throughout the month of June.
Certainly. So I'll just start with that bigger number. Almost 1,100 distracted driving tickets. I think it was 1,097 distracted driving tickets in the month of June. It's worth mentioning that this is the biggest number that SGI has seen since 2019. And so what changed in 2019, you may remember, is we had an increase in the ticket amount for distracted driving. So since that increased ticket amount came into play, we have not seen a number this big. So we really just want to encourage people to remember to drive without distraction. Make sure those cell phones are put away. Make sure other people in the vehicle know that the driver needs to focus on the task at hand, which is driving. It's nice because it's summer. We're heading out on the highway, usually with friends or family. You can often pass some of those tasks on to the passenger. Things like navigation, selecting the songs, answering messages, and taking calls. The driver definitely doesn't need to be doing that. So really just encouraging people to keep their heads focused on the task at hand, which is driving. The other thing I'll comment on is the seatbelt ticket number, 706, as you mentioned. So really always encouraging people to make sure all vehicle occupants are buckled up properly, including children and pets. And just making sure we can all do what we can to stay safe and bring that number down, because that is the second highest number we've seen in the 8-year history of the Traffic Safety Spotlight.
With distracted driving, I know you did mention a few that would be classified as distracting. Of course, being on your cell phone is a huge one that people are aware of. But what are other distracted driving parts of that thing that people may not know?
Right. So there are 2 different types of distracted driving offenses. There's distracted due to cell phone use, and there's driving without due care and attention. So driving without due care and attention can basically include anything that would compromise the care and attention taken by the driver. Things like talking on a cell phone. It could be using your vehicle's screen interface. If you're, looking at that when you should be driving, that could definitely be considered driving without due care and attention. Eating, looking in the mirror, turned around speaking to passengers in the back of the vehicle. There's a whole host of things that can distract the driver when they're supposed to be driving, and it's up to the discretion of the officer giving the ticket whether or if they believe the driver was exercising due care and attention.
Now, there is a number that's, lesser so than the other two, but still, it's pretty important and pretty serious. 410 impaired driving offenses. Now, obviously, impaired driving is illegal across the board. Tell me a little bit about what you guys have been seeing with that number being pretty high.
For sure. So I'll say that in June of 2023, 410 impaired driving offenses is lower than recent years. So looking at June 2022, June 2021, this number is lower, which is good, but 210 is still far from where we want to be. Ideally, we'd have no impaired driving offenses in any month. We love to see the number coming down. It has been steadily coming down over the last decade. However, there's still so much work to be done, which is reflected in that 410.
And just for people to be aware, how much are those tickets for distracted driving, seatbelt tickets, or impaired driving? I know you did mention that in 2019, the price of the tickets for distracted driving did raise, which lowered your numbers, but you're seeing an increase now this year. So just for people to be reminded of what it will cost them if they are distracted while driving, they don't wear their seatbelts, or they are impaired.
So for your first distracted driving ticket, that is a $580 fine. That fine amount went up in 2019. Your second distracted driving ticket is going to cost you $1,400. And each one of those offenses comes with 4 demerit points under the Safe Driver Recognition Program. For impaired driving, every impaired driving offense comes with a automatic vehicle impoundment, license suspension, demerit points, and having to take mandatory safe driver education courses.
Now, if anybody would like to find more information on this and ticket prices and, what is considered distracted driving and all that fun stuff, where can people find that information?
Yeah, all that information and more can be found on our website, sgi.sk.ca.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Michaela. I'm hoping that this will encourage drivers in Saskatchewan to, put away their phones, put their seatbelts on, and make sure that everybody is having a safe trip to whatever destination that they're going towards. So thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much again for having me.
Taking a look at your final 7-day forecast, a high of 26 and a low of 11 for tomorrow. So we'll be seeing that sun a lot this week. And then on Wednesday, another sunny day with a high of 22 and a low of 10. And then things start to cool off on Thursday and Friday with a high of 18 on Thursday and a high of 19 on Friday, both with chance of some thunder showers. And then on the weekend, it'll be a fairly sunny day, high of 21 on Saturday, 22 on Sunday with about a 58% chance of some rain, and then back to sunshine on Monday with a high of 23.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Abby. Looks like we're going to get some rain here soon, so if people want to get out and do some outdoor activities today and tomorrow might be the night to do it.
Yes, take advantage of that really, really nice weather that we have for the next couple days.
It's warm but not too hot at the same time, so it's nice to see that. That's all the time we have. We'll see you again tomorrow.